Chip, how are your young specialists doing out there so far?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know, we're obviously at the kicker spot, LaCamera, kind of just having him focused there all fall. You really see the difference between 6 months ago and now. So I feel like we took our, our growing pain, so to speak, with him in the fall. Traveled to every game, didn't redshirt. Actually came into a couple games, kicked off and kicked some PATs, and Coach Summon and I and Daniel sat down and talked about it right before, at the end of training camp before the first game against Arizona State, and he's like a totally different guy. I mean, he's real calm, form looks really good, and you never know until we get out into Kyle Field again, and hopefully Thursday, and then we'll come back and do Friday Night Lights, and then the spring game. I think between those three things, those will be some really good evaluation days to see him. And then we'll look at in the summer who's going to be competing as the backup there. Braden Mann on the other end, and Shane Trapuka at punter. We've got a two-way battle there. We talked with Braden the same way we did with Daniel, and I kind of felt like he was leaning towards wanting to punt more than field goal for this spring. What's great is he's a mid-year transfer, so of course we were able to kind of say, all right, let's just work this semester on punting. Both him and LaCamera are great at kickoffs, so I think we're going to be fine there. We're not going to spend a lot of time doing that until maybe the summer. But Braden's been impressive so far. He's got a strong leg. Maybe hasn't focused on it as much. So again, kind of like Daniel was 6 months ago, that's how he is right now. I expect him to continue to get better every week. He's certainly good enough, talent-wise. And then on the other hand, we kind of have a veteran / newcomer in Shane, who hasn't had a lot of experience, but he's been around here for a while. Punting very, very well. Kind of earned his keep to get to this point. And Braden's going to have to do some great things to be able to win the job. But it's wide open. And like I told them, just because one guy punts better this spring, that's not where you're going to win it. It's going to go through summer and then really in fall camps where we're going to find out who's our guy.
Mann's been booming a few, but is it kind of like a young pitcher? I mean, he's got a fastball, but you're looking to develop some other things too.
Definitely. Yeah, and we're a directional punt team, so I mean, like there's some learning curve there. I mean, I can't just punt down the middle like Cy Fair and let it go as far as and high as I can. So we're asking him to do some things right now that are probably above his level. But God, I mean, he's like smart. Coming in, he's a great student. He's coachable, and as soon as you tell him, fix this, take your drop up a little bit, flatten it out, take a shorter second step. I mean, he fixes it right away. So I mean, like you get these guys like this that we have from Drew to Taylor, and then onward to all the guys I have now, and Shane and Daniel and Braden. They're all great students. They're all self-starters. It's easy for a coach, and we recruit that. There's maybe some other guys that are more talented, ready to play right away. But like these guys are coachable and they're accountable, and because of it, I feel like we're going to get a better player.
What ways are you hoping Christian will improve in special teams this
year? He had a great first year. Obviously, his kick return game and collectively as a group, we didn't do as well kickoff return wise as we needed to. We had a couple explosive returns, and he was part of that. So was Speedy. But I think with Christian, it's a balance, a really fine balance between learning the new offense, getting all these reps at receiver, and then also becoming a better returner. Some of that is fielding the ball, fielding the ball better, being more assertive, getting a jump on the punts that are short and to the right and to the left in different directions that maybe we didn't field last year. And then in the kick return game, like I alluded to earlier, we won't know that until we kind of get into fall camp and start preparing him to get better at that. But, he turned the ball over twice. And certainly, we want to fix those two problems there.
Speedy's game last year, was injuries a little bit holding him back in the return game? Where did he go across?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, like we met today, this afternoon, Speedy and I, because now we're coming into the second week. He's had a good first week health-wise. He looks good at receiver. He's, again, like Christian, he's learning a new offense. So, like, I took some pressure off him today, and we met, and I was like, look, let's keep you off the return game for this spring, so you can be 100% receiver right now, and we're not getting those nagging injuries. So he's had the hip flexor, he's had a knee, he's had a hamstring. And because of those things, like that wear and tear, the yardage, the amount of running, and every time I'm back, he's back there, he's going to give us everything he's got. So because of that, he's full sprint 50 yards every time we punt return full. So we're taking that away out of his game this spring. He'll still catch punts, he'll still catch kickoffs to get better at the actual the actual technique of catching them. But last year that was a problem. We just couldn't consistently count on him being 100%. And so there were games we went in and I said, hey, look, you're not doing it because you're not going to get the reps, or you're going to get the reps and it's going to bog you down and make you slower for game day. So he's one of those athletes. He's so explosive that you kind of got to hold him back sometimes and keep him in moderation in his workload. As soon as his workload gets too much, you start seeing some of the soft tissue stuff break down, and we've learned that about him. So we're all working together, and he's growing up. He came in today and talked about it to me, which is a big improvement from maybe last year where he would have kept that injury to himself or kept that feeling to himself. We're communicating, but hey, he's a dynamic player, and certainly we expect great things out of him next fall. And him and Christian give us as good a 1-2 punch as there is in the country at both punt and kickoff return, and you can never have enough guys. I mean, both those guys have been all-conference returners. So I'm lucky as heck to have those two. We are. But I like Justin Evans. I like Nick Harvey. Justin returned a kickoff 30 yards in the bowl game. That was kind of neat to see him actually go in the game and be able to do it. But we know he's physical. He's good. Nick Harvey's just solid at everything. And then we'll have, we always have some freshmen. I'm excited to see Keith Ford, Travion Williams. So with Speedy's absence in the spring doing that, it gives a couple other guys a look. And now we can really coach those guys on how to hit the hole and what to read and how to do it. And then that way in fall camp we can evaluate them. And then, hey, like we've done in the non-conference, we're going to take a look at some guys as we go into heavy SEC play, so we got the best guys on the field.
So when you look at Speedy in the eyes, you're seeing a different guy from an attitude standpoint.
Yeah, and I think you do, like at this level, the second year, you see that. Like they figured out the speed of the game is fine. That's one thing. That's athletic ability. That's knowledge of the game. But like now it's like the maturity of communicating with us about all those things. And then, I know he can make plays. I've seen it. We've all seen it. And then I think too, a faster Speedy's better for the return game as well. And so we want him to be fresh.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Did you ever feel like that there's any concern with Christian about having the same kind of issues?
Exactly. Oh yeah, there's a huge concern, and that's why there's games that Christian didn't return and Speedy did. It's all based off of the feel and the look that we see. So the feel of the player and the look that the coach has. And there's times where I've seen them, and I'm watching these guys all the time. So I'm watching them play receiver, play running back. In my drills, I'm watching that video at night. They're not seeing, other coaches aren't seeing that return video. And I'm going, uh-oh, he's slowing down. I don't see the burst. And so it's great information for me to give back feedback to the position coaches. They're amazed when Coach Sumlin and I will come to an agreement like, let's hold them off of this because they think we're always, as best team guys, we're always trying to get the best player out there, and we are. But at the expense of the team, like you want to do it at the expense of now he's not as dynamic of a receiver. So because we have all these guys that can do it, I mean, like I said this to Coach Mazzone, he goes, God, our returners look pretty good. I was like, yeah. And we got Justin Evans and Nick Harvey. I mean, these guys could return for anybody in the country. We got 4 guys that have that kind of experience. And then we've got a Courtney Davis, a Travion Williams, and Keith Ford we haven't even seen yet.
How much bigger of a role do you see for the tight ends in this new offense? And can you comment on maybe there not being much depth, I guess, at that position?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's not that much depth, and I think anytime you don't have depth, you have a chance to find a guy, and that's kind of what we've done. And Tanner Short's kind of taken that over as a guy that we found. We moved him over in bowl practices. He's a 6'4 plus, 250-pound tight endish body that was playing D end and was a reserve. We moved Brandon Alexander over. If he didn't get injured before his senior year, who knows? He might have had a chance to play in the NFL. So we feel like we can get a lot of mileage out of him. And we'll have more guys to add to the fold before we get started. We got Aaron Hansford, who we signed. That's an H. That's not necessarily going to be a tight end, but he can do some of those things. And in Coach Mazzone's offense, it's a consistent usage of that personnel group. And then what we'll have to do in the offseason going into fall camp is look at who are the best personnel that can help us from receiver, running back, tight end standpoint. And then when we got to get big and heavy, we'll have trained these guys up all spring because we're using them every 5 or 10 plays. So Tanner Short's been a bright spot. We'll continue to add depth through the offseason in the summer, and then I think you'll see a different group as we line up in the fall, and we'll put those guys in position. This offense is very well versed. 2 back, a tight end and a running back. No tight ends, no running backs. I mean, you can do it all. So it's very flexible.
Coach Sumlin suggested that y'all might be looking at some defensive players to come over and help out at tight end. Can you tell us who those
no, there's no one in particular, but what happens is like Tanner and like Brandon Alexander is you look and you go, well, wait, how many is he going to travel? Or is he going to get a lot of reps at defensive end or linebacker? No, not really. He's not on the 2 deep. Well, then why not move him over if he has that skill set, convert him, Now all of a sudden he's immediately a special team player because I'm coaching with him all the time. So he's going to get more special teams coaching, and that's where those bodies are invaluable. In a spread offense, which a lot of people run, your tight end, D-end body type guys are tough to find on special teams. And the guys that set the wedge and the guys that block for the punter in the back end of the shield are guys you need. And you don't want to have Myles Garrett and Deshaun Hall in every one of those special teams. So you got to find and manufacture those guys. So it's kind of a two-way deal. It helps us at tight end, but it also helps them on special teams, and it helps our team.
You might be asking if Myles Garrett might be a goal line tight end option.
Well, certainly guys like him, you always want to look for that. I mean, you want to look for how you can do that. And because Coach Mazzoni's used a Miles Jack, per se, at the last school he was at, it only naturally, leads you into asking that question. But I think we will do all that goal line, short yardage stuff with any defensive personnel in the fall for training camp as we see our numbers grow and we add our recruiting class. Now you can move them over and teach them during those periods, and both those guys, all those guys will be guys that come up in meetings. Dalen Mack, all those guys. They'll just be who's going to actually do it.
You try to do that in the first 15 minutes so we can.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That'll be minutes 16 to 20.